The media is making this man out to be a maverick. A maverick. Such a maverick that when facing Barack Obama and the polls weren't looking good, instead of going with his gut, instead of going with what he wanted to do, which was to pick Joe Lieberman, which also would have been disastrous, he listened to his political people around him and decided, oh, I need to pick an idiot who's a creationist, who doesn't know how to spell, much less read. I'm going to put her one heartbeat away from the president. What a maverick move. Or when he was running for office, when he was running for president in 2000, he wouldn't come out, even though he believed in his heart the Confederate flag should come down in South Carolina. And whoever won the South Carolina primary in the Republican nominating process was going to probably become the GOP nominee. Instead of saying what he truly believed, he came out and said, oh, well, basically punted on it, didn't give a straight answer, which he later apologized for. John McCain was not a maverick. John McCain created an image of a maverick. John McCain didn't fly from Arizona to Washington, D.C. after cancer treatment to be the final vote, basically to avoid repealing Obamacare because he believed in Obamacare. He did it to put a thumb in President Trump's eye. That's politics, not heroism. It's not being a maverick. John McCain was in a position with his government, very well, government health care. He lived for a year after a terminal brain injury because of his great health care and great doctors that we paid for as the taxpayers. He was in a great position to have some empathy, to see why liberals and progressives believe in Medicare for all. Instead, he came back, put his thumbs down, basically, if you believe the reporting, to screw Trump. But he had an opportunity right then and there to come out and say everybody deserves health care. Not just for the rich, not just for people with jobs, but everybody. Because he was experiencing it. He chose not to. And again, this maverick notion. John McCain loved every single tax cut known to man. Hold on. No, I don't have it. Oh, well. I had a list of the tax cuts that he voted for. Oh, here it is. Here we go. Voted in 1903 to expand the Reagan tax cuts, which helped triple the debt. Voted in 1984 against $300 billion in tax increases. Voted in 1989 to cut the capital gains tax and expand IRAs, helping his wealthy donors. Opposed George Bush's tax-raising budget in 1990. Supported a supermajority for tax increases and a capital gains cut. Again, another capital gains cut. Opposed Bill Clinton's tax increases. Voted for tax-free medical savings accounts. Supported tax-free education savings and capital gains tax cuts. Oh my God, how many capital gains tax cuts? You think he was doing that for the middle class and the poor? No. Voted to cut income taxes in 1998. Voted to eliminate the marriage penalty in 2000. Supported additional tax cuts during the Bush administration after opposing the initial Bush tax cuts in 2001. And by the way, the only reason he opposed the initial Bush tax cuts in 2001 is because he said, oh no, we're at war. And he never knew a war he didn't support. So this fantasy of John McCain as like the maverick, it's just that. It's a fantasy. He very rarely did anything or stepped outside of conservative orthodoxy to do something courageous or brave politically. Obviously, he was a prisoner of war and all that. And as a reminder, if you're watching on YouTube, this is a super chat. So if you're feeling super, if you like what I'm saying, feel free to contribute. I also have at the bottom of the page, I put right there ways you could contribute. And let's make sure everything's working. Okay, good. Because it wasn't. 1 second. There we go. So that's the notion that he was a maverick. That's just bullshit. Sorry. Some people might be saying, well, Jordan, how dare you? The man just died. He hasn't even been buried. Well, he was a senator, ran for president, longtime public figure. Sorry, he's not immune to criticism. I refrained for the day he died, I refrained. And then I reported the truth the next day. You can't let the media and its absurd fantasizing. I mean, it's a fantasy. They're not talking about John McCain. I don't know who the hell they're talking about on television. Because it's not McCain. I just showed you. It's like a Hall of Fame lineup of big bank donations, defense contractor donations. And he was for campaign finance reform? It's like Hillary Clinton is for campaign finance reform. But in private speeches to the banks, they're just politicizing your role in the global financial crash. I still love you guys. We'll work together to fix the problem you created. I mean, it's political hypocrisy and fraudulence at its finest. But I also think John McCain, Jordan, thanks for all your work. Thank you so much, Sean. I appreciate that. And thanks to everyone who contributes through the Super Chat. We're doing our best here to get Status Quo off the ground. My business partner, Jen, is on vacation, actually, so she won't be around this week. But I'm doing everything I can myself. We got our website developer in the background sending me different versions of the website. That will be up in September at some point. Ty is doing some stuff and working on some things, including a documentary, which I'm going to play you the trailer today as I talk about Flint. So your contributions are very, very much appreciated. But the legacy of John McCain is to make devaluing the lives of other people across the world as opposed to valuing American lives. And by the way, the lives that John McCain valued in America, I'm sorry to say, were not, the vulnerable. It was not the impoverished. It was not people who work for a living. I just showed you the money. It's the money, Lebowski. It's always the money. John McCain was a Reaganite, Bushite Republican. He pushed for tax cuts for wealthy people. He pushed for deregulation for wealthy people. And in large part, his wars helped wealthy people. I understand that his grandfather was in the Navy. I understand his father was in the Navy. I understand it's part of who he was. It was his DNA. But do you know how many soldiers there are out there? I've watched documentaries. I've met U.S. veterans. That their war experience has pushed them to make sure that the wars we fight are for righteous purpose. That the wars we fight are for a last resort, not a first resort. That we honor our soldiers by never sending them to wars unless we absolutely have to for the safety of the United States and its citizens. John McCain did not live his life that way. John McCain claimed to hold soldiers near and dear, number one in his life, but he never hesitated to send them to a war when there was shoddy intelligence or when we were not imminently threatened. I mean, I'm going to read you this list. It's truly, truly unbelievable. This list, a map of all the countries John McCain has wanted to attack. Here we go. This is for Mother Jones. Syria. McCain on Syria. Providing military assistance to the Free Syrian Army and other opposing groups is necessary, but at this late hour, that alone will not be sufficient to stop the slaughter and save innocent lives. The only realistic way to do so is with foreign air power. What he wanted, airstrikes culminating a regime change. Well, we started the airstrikes again. And if the Warhawks get their way, I'm sure we will do regime change. Mother Jones gave McCain five angry McCain faces for that one. Iraq. Fighting words. Leaders always have choices, and history teaches that hard choices deferred. Appeasing Hitler, choosing not to deter Saddam Hussein in 1990, failing to act sooner against Al-Qaeda, often bring about the very circumstances we wish to avoid by deferring action, requiring us to react in freedom's defense. America's leaders today have a choice. It will determine whether our people live in fear behind walls that have already been breached as our enemies plan our defeat in time we have given them to do it. What he wanted, a ground war culminating in regime change. I just want to read you one more thing before I tell you how ridiculous that was. This is from Splinter News. Within hours of 9/11, Mr. McCain, the Vietnam War hero and famed straight talker of the 2000 Republican primary, had taken on a new role. The leading advocate for taking the American retaliation against Al-Qaeda far beyond Afghanistan. In a marathon of television and radio appearances, Mr. McCain recited a short list of other countries said to support terrorism, invariably including Iraq, Iran, and Syria. Within a month, he made his priority, quote, very obviously Iraq is the first country, he declared on CNN. By January 2nd, McCain was on the aircraft carrier Theodore Roosevelt in the Arabian Sea, yelling to the crowd of sailors and airmen, next up, Baghdad. I want to point that out. He used the phrase deferred action. Deferred action. That's what the Iraq War was. It was a deferred action. We were following through on the failed or deferred action of the Gulf War, of the first Iraq War. Well, tell that to the 9/11 families. Tell that to the families of the Iraq War who lost their loved ones. They were told, we went to war because Saddam Hussein orchestrated and had something to do with September 11th. They were told that Saddam Hussein had weapons of mass destruction and was planning on using it against the United States and our allies. That's what they were told, and that's what we were told. So John McCain and Bush and Cheney, God, looking at the media and how they're responding to McCain's death, I can only wait for Dick Cheney and that alternative reality that we're going to see. John McCain lied to the American people. He helped lie us in to a real war based on fake reasons and fake pretenses. That's not heroism. That is imperialism. That is devaluing the lives of the soldiers you swear you're there to protect. That is devaluing the lives of Iraqis, hundreds of thousands of Iraqis, killed or wounded.